Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm the owner of Niche Crochet, and today we're going to talk about AI generated crochet images, how they're harmful to the crochet community, and how to spot them. Now before we start the video, I have a pop quiz for you guys. I'm going to show you 6 different images on the screen, and I want you to guess which ones are real and which ones are AI. Are you ready? Which one of these is real and which one is AI? Now how about this one? Which one is real? Which one's AI? Last one. Which one is real? And which one is AI? The correct answers are going to be revealed later in the video. Throughout this video, I'm going to refer to AI-generated images of things that look crocheted as AI crochet. So I'm going to be calling them AI crochet unless I specify otherwise. Now, first of all, I'm going to explain what AI crochet is and how it can be harmful. Now, AI crochet is an AI-generated picture of something that is crocheted, and it is often used to mislead people into thinking that it is a real crochet object. For example, there was this picture that was going around the internet for a while, around 2 years ago, of a life-sized crochet elephant. There was a woman who was presumed to be the crocheter of the elephant who was standing next to it. This image was getting really popular on the internet among crochet spaces, and a lot of people were looking at this and being like, wow, she's so talented. Whoa, where do I buy the pattern for this? Whoa, is there a way I can buy this crochet elephant? Yeah. People were looking at this image and asking if they could buy it. What many people didn't know was that it wasn't real. It was never real. It was a completely AI-generated image. And if you look closely, you can start to tell something looks off about the woman in the image. And if you know anything about crochet, you can tell that the stitches are off as well. They don't look like real stitches. They look off. They're way too big. From a distance, it looks like a small crochet item that got upscaled in Photoshop. But that's not even what happened, because if you look at any of the stitches, they're just wrong. Anyone with a trained eye could look at this and in 1 second tell that it was AI crochet. And it's pretty obvious nowadays. But this picture fooled a lot of people into thinking it was real. And it ended up disappointing a lot of people when they found out that it was AI generated. So that's one way that AI can mislead the crochet community. And this is not just a problem with an image getting popular on Facebook or whatever. AI crochet can also fool potential buyers that want to commission crocheters. Someone can find an AI generated photo of a crochet piece and be like, can you make this for me? And the crocheter will look at this and be like, I can't find the crochet pattern. I can't figure out how I could possibly make these details. I'm not sure why whoever made this decided to make these decisions about the design. So it overall can mislead people into thinking that it's real and, like I said, become disappointed when they find out that it's not real. These AI crochet images can also fool beginner crocheters into thinking that they aren't good enough because they can't replicate something that was AI generated. And they might not be able to spot that something is AI generated just by looking at the stitches because they don't have a good idea of what stitches are supposed to look like yet. But these problems are actually relatively tame compared to what's going on Etsy, where people are selling crochet patterns written by AI. Now, if you crochet and you like to buy crochet patterns on Etsy, you might have noticed something weird going on in the results every time you look up a crochet pattern. You might notice some weird-looking images with mixed reviews. This is because Etsy currently has a problem where people are generating a photo of a crochet whatever, and they are asking ChatGPT to write a crochet pattern for the photo that was generated, and then they are selling that. The thing about ChatGPT writing a crochet pattern is the fact that it hardly ever gets anything good or right when they write a crochet pattern. Sure, you can send it a picture and ask it to write a crochet pattern for it, but that doesn't mean it's going to make anything good. And so people are buying these crochet patterns on Etsy because they didn't know that AI was involved in the making at all. And they're getting ripped off, and they're leaving negative reviews saying that, oh, this isn't coming out how the picture looks at all. And what's weird is that in a lot of these listings, It's not all bad reviews. There are actually a lot of 5-star reviews. There's suspiciously a lot of 5-star reviews. And many of the good reviews don't say anything of substance about the crochet pattern. They're just like, haha, came out good, working up great, but they don't provide any pictures, they don't provide any commentary or list anything specific about the crochet pattern. They're just like, and the more honest looking reviews are 1 or 2 stars. And I think that maybe, I don't know how, but maybe these sellers are possibly buying reviews or getting people to leave good reviews for them so that their shop and their products look more reputable than they are, so that people will then see this and be like, oh, this is a pretty good crochet pattern, I'll buy it. And then they get scammed. And that's pretty bad, right? This is going to continue to be a problem so long as generative AI exists. And this is not the only bad thing about AI crochet either. It undermines the work of real crocheters. All of these AI tools that are coming out are getting so advanced so quickly that eventually it might one day be able to write something that makes sense and looks good. And when that happens, what are us real crocheters going to do? Real crocheters spend years of their lives perfecting their work and designing things that look good and that people want, and that can be kind of swiped away by a computer that wrote something in 2 seconds. Now that we know about what's been going on Etsy and how AI crochet is starting to make its way into the Etsy world, let's figure out how to spot AI crochet in the wild. If you look closely at real crochet, specifically amigurumi, you'll notice that single crochet stitches are very visible. It's very easy to tell which stitches were used and where. In fact, I'm making a rat right now and you can see my individual single crochet stitches. If you look closely at something that's AI generated, you'll notice that there are no discernible stitches, or if there are, it quickly doesn't make sense. Things go in the wrong direction. Stitches look like corn on a cob. You'll also notice that there's no foundation. Usually in crochet, specifically amigurumi, there's a place where it starts and there's like a little hole with like a circle around it. In AI crochet, there often just isn't that. You'll also notice that the overall picture just looks too grandiose. It's too colorful, and there are design choices in there that might not make any sense, and there are color changes that don't make sense, and there are details like an added horn on the tail of this cow that just doesn't make sense. I just don't think that a human would make those mistakes, right? Like, I don't think a human would accidentally sew a horn onto a cow's rear. Also, look at the background. Is there anything in the background that makes sense? Essentially, spotting these AI crochet photos is essentially looking at it and being like, does this make sense? And the last way to tell if something is AI is to find other angles of the piece. You know, when I take pictures of my pieces, I take pictures from multiple angles. I take a picture from the side, I take a picture from the front, from the bottom oftentimes. In these AI generated images, you can't get that, or at least you can't get that in a consistent way. So usually when it comes to AI thumbnails on Etsy, there's only one photo, and if there's other photos, it's just not the same thing. So that's how you can tell which is AI and which is real in the crochet world. So now we're going to go back to that quiz I mentioned at the beginning of the video. How many did you get right? So let's look at these two. This one's clearly AI, and this one's real. I bet you guessed that one. Now here's the second one. This one's AI, and this one is real. Now the third one. This one is AI, and this one is real. Right? Or are they? I have a secret. I just lied to you. Like, I just blatantly lied to you. It turns out none of those images that I showed you in the beginning were real. None of the images in the quiz were real. All of them are AI. And now you may be thinking, what? But there are discernible stitches. You can tell that there are single crochet stitches. There's a humanness to the real, quote-unquote, real pictures. How are all of them AI? A few days ago, I was scrolling through Instagram, and for some reason I got the idea in my head to mess around with the Imagine feature, which is a feature that When you are messaging someone, you can tap on the plus sign in the corner of your text box, and there's a feature called Imagine, and it lets you put in a prompt and an AI will figure out what you mean and generate an image based on your prompt. And for some reason, I got a sudden urge to ask it to show me something crochet. I think I asked it to show me a crochet possum. Because usually in the past, especially for the past 3 years, whenever I would put in the prompt crochet possum in some sort of AI image generator, it would show me something absolutely ridiculous and so, bad that it was funny. But this time around, it showed me something that looked realistic. I noticed that the stitches looked like real stitches. I could tell that it was single crochet stitches. The color changes looked real, and the design choices that were made looked like a human could have made them. So I decided to put in more prompts. I asked it to generate a ton of pictures of crocheted stuff. And some things still looked obviously AI, but every single one looked like it could have been made by a person. It had, like I said, discernible stitches, a realistic background that a person could have chosen to make. It had safety eyes, realistic color changes. And I was terrified, honestly, because I was so used to seeing unrealistic crocheted images that when these popped up on my screen, I was taken aback. I was like, whoa. When did this happen? It seemed like overnight AI on Instagram got 1 billion times better. And it was on Instagram. On Instagram. You don't have to pay for that. It's not some sort of specialized high technology AI. It's the one that anyone can access on Instagram. And it's spewing out realistic images. More realistic than I've ever seen. So I came to the conclusion that I needed to make a video about this right away. And it made me realize that AI is now on track to advance so quickly that it's going to be difficult for even the trained eye to distinguish AI images from real pictures. I've been so exposed to AI images in the past couple of years of my life that I feel like I can easily spot it in the wild. For example, I recently visited a coffee shop in my city and they were selling stickers and all of the stickers were AI generated. And I pointed it out to my friend and they were like, dude, how can you tell? And I was like, dude, that dog has 2 noses. What do you mean, how can I tell? But now I don't know anymore. I don't know how reliable my ability to spot AI is going to be next week. And that scares me because everything that I'd said earlier in the video about scammers using AI to scam people on Etsy could get potentially a lot worse. If AI images are getting more and more realistic, then almost every single piece of advice I gave you earlier about how to spot AI is going to become useless if it isn't already. I'm going to give you different methods as to figure out if something is AI or not on Etsy. So here is how you can actually tell if something is AI or not on Etsy. It's going to be much more difficult to tell just by looking at pictures. So you have to look deeper into listings. First of all, you're going to want to look up the artist. Most real, genuine artists on Etsy have social medias, and some of them even have their own websites. And if you look up their social media, you can probably easily begin to tell if they're genuine or not. Second of all, pay attention to the reviews. If a crochet pattern or a shop has a bunch of glowing 5-star reviews, but they don't really mention anything about the products that they supposedly purchased, or they don't even have images, then maybe wait. Maybe wait until there are more specific reviews, or maybe just don't buy it at all. Especially if you notice a couple of bad reviews in there that mention that the product doesn't actually turn out the way the image looks. That's a big red flag. So I sell crochet patterns on Etsy, and if you look at my reviews, you'll notice a lot of people post images of their results, and a lot of people will mention specific things about the crochet patterns that they may have struggled with, or they actually liked, stuff like that. If the reviews are very non-specific and they're just like, worked out great, had fun, And if all of them are like that, that's a little suspicious. Now, a lot of times reviews like that are real, but if you can't find anything that is more specific, that's a little suspicious. I recognize that that piece of advice can be harmful, because if you're a brand new shop, obviously your reviews are not going to be the best yet. You know, when I first started selling crochet patterns on Etsy, a lot of my reviews were not specific. They were just 5 stars, or they just wouldn't really say anything substantive. And I get that. But, you know, the more reviews, the more specific reviews that the shop has, the more likely it is to be real. And third of all, I think this piece of advice is one of the most significant ones. Look for consistent pictures of the product in multiple angles. If you notice a product has multiple angles, but it looks a little different in every angle, then it's possible that that's AI generated. Usually in my crochet pattern images, I have multiple angles of the finished product, from the back, from the side, from the front, and you can tell that I am taking pictures of the same product throughout. And that is a big telltale sign if something is real or not, because AI has a hard time being consistent when it is generating multiple pictures. So if something has multiple angles, then it's probably real. As far as I am aware. This could be something that flies out the window next year or next month. Maybe sometime soon AI will be really good at generating multiple angles of a picture and we're doomed. It's not all doom and gloom though. This isn't a video that's criticizing Etsy in any way. I know that a lot of people recently have had issues with the way that Etsy has been conducting their business, but I am not in any way criticizing Etsy. I am more so criticizing the people who are doing the scamming, because Etsy is actually taking action against this. Now, they're not necessarily taking a stance against AI, or at least I couldn't find anything where they said that they were starkly against the use of AI. But when people generate a photo of a crochet image and then ask ChatGPT to write the pattern and then sell that is a scam. People are paying for something and then they are not getting what they paid for, or they're getting something much less quality than what was promised, and that's a scam. And so Etsy is going to take stances against that, and when people report the shop and leave a bunch of negative reviews, Etsy will notice that and take the shop down. A lot of the pictures that I used throughout this video, I found on Etsy. They were used in listings on Etsy. But when I went back a few days later to try to find them again, they were gone. Even really popular ones were gone, which I think is a good sign, because even though some of them had really good reviews for some reason, it still got taken down by Etsy. And I think that's a little glimmer of hope that maybe Etsy's not going to be super overrun by AI generated images. I tried to do more research today, and even then I couldn't find a whole lot of AI generated crochet patterns today on Etsy, which I think is really good. I think that's a step in the right direction. So why does any of this matter? AI is getting super advanced super quickly. And right now, it can't write good crochet patterns, but when will it? At a certain point, it is going to advance so well that it's probably going to be very difficult to tell between an AI pattern and a human written pattern. And that can very much threaten my job, and it can threaten other artists in the community. Why spend years learning how to crochet to sell crochet patterns and sell your work when you can just ask ChatGPT to do it in 10 seconds for you? It undermines the hard work and the value that is put into actually spending time to design something and write it down and be good at what you're doing and learn a valuable skill in life. And it might sound crazy to be oh, AI is going to take my job. I'm super scared, because obviously, AI is probably not going to master the physical act of crocheting, but it can master the act of writing a crochet pattern, and that is a huge source of many people's income. AI is already, replacing jobs. I noticed that a lot of advertisements nowadays are using AI voices and AI art in their commercials. Just the other day, I came across a Subway ad, and I was looking at, it was a long cookie, And I was like, oh, okay, that's neat. But then I looked closely at it, and I noticed that the background, not the cookie looks like it was photoshopped in, but the background didn't look real. It looked AI generated. And I asked myself why they would even need to do that. How hard is it to put together a table and take a picture of a cookie in a real setting? It's cheaper. It's cheaper. The AI is so accessible and it's so free that it's just simply cheaper not to put together a real set. It's cheaper not to hire humans to voice act something or to draw something. It's cheaper not to learn to crochet and to write your own crochet patterns. It's cheaper to just have AI do everything for you to profit. And that worries me. We're removing the humanity from art. What's the point? The best way to combat AI in artist settings is to support real artists. I, for one, am a human artist, and you can easily support me by going to my website, nichecrochet.com, and buying crochet patterns from there. I also sell physical plushies, and I have a restock once every 2 to 4 weeks. All of the links are in the description of the video. Please also sign up for my email list to be notified when things go back in stock and when other updates happen in my shop. Also, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Tumblr, and make sure to like and subscribe. On YouTube, I actually post a series where I make crocheted rats out of non-conventional yarn-like materials. This was the first one I ever made, and his name is Mr. Shredded Cheese, and he's made out of scrubby yarn, which is the yarn that you use to make dishcloths and dish scrubbies. And this is how he came out. And I plan on making several more videos in the Will It Rat series, and I plan on using a ton of crazy materials like rubber bands, Christmas tinsel. I might use rope-like materials. I also plan on using plastic bags and stuff like that. And I also take suggestions, so if you have a suggestion for a material to use in a Will It Rat video, comment down below. Thank you for watching my video. This is the first time I've ever recorded a YouTube video that was kind of scripted and planned out, so I apologize if it came off as a little bit messy or not well planned, because this is literally my first time doing this. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and I hope that you learned something from this video. Bye, Niche Nation!